Blog Talk Radio.
One, two, you hear the clock ticking. Tick tock. You about to stop living. Tick tock. I want you to remember me. Tick tock. But the day don't have no memory. I'm coming. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can hold me. Nobody control me. I'm coming. I'm here to do my thing. I'm here to bring the pain. I'm never ever gonna change. I'm coming. Nobody can stop me. Nobody.
All right, it's Tuesday night. That means it's time for Jeff Mayweather's show. My name is Alexz Yzerman. Of course, I'm joined by one and only Jeff Mayweather. Jeff, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. And yourself?
Not too bad. It seems like forever since I've seen you, but it's good to catch up with you after all this time. Must have been all like 15 minutes or so since we last spoke, so good to have you on the show. Great show tonight. We're going to be joined by former two-time world champion boxer Marlon Starling. He'll be joining us in about 10 minutes or so, and then in the bottom half of the hour, UFC fighter, fresh off of his win over Matt Mitrione, will be joining us, Roy Nelson. Really looking forward to that. Roy's a real interesting guy, so be sure to check that out. In a couple minutes before Marlon joins us, Jeff, let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about that UFC event. You were heavily involved this past weekend. Obviously, you worked with Roy, and then you had the winner of the fighter, Colton Smith, was also someone you worked with. So tell us a little about the show, and let's just start with Colton and what you thought of his performance, and was he someone that you expected it to go as far as it did?
Well, I mean, Colton was, like I said, he was a guy that had quiet confidence about himself, and basically also a guy who he believed tremendous belief in himself and what he was able to do. And his strength was, of course, was wrestling. And, of course, Rixie, the guy that he actually ended up beating to win the show, was actually a pretty good stand-up fighter. But Colton didn't give him a chance to, to show anything. Basically, he got him in, and once he locked up with him. I mean, basically, he pretty much he controlled the fight pretty much every round. For all 3 rounds, he controlled the fight probably at least, a great portion of the round, almost the complete round. All 3 rounds. So I mean, it wasn't the most entertaining, but it was. If you understand MMA, I mean, basically you have some guys that are good on the ground and you have some guys that are good standing up. And Colton's strength was actually he was a wrestler. So, I mean, for him, it was great. It was great. And I guess for people that actually understand it and can relate to what he was doing and how he was doing and what it was he was doing, I mean, he probably looked spectacular, but at the same time, I mean, a lot of times when you have 2 guys on the ground, it's not as entertaining as 2 guys standing up striking one another.
Yeah, I don't think it was, I was surprised that he was able to pretty much dominate the way he did, but, like you said, it's not, the most entertaining thing to watch, but he was able to dominate Richie so much on the ground, it was kind of senseless for him to do anything else but kind of do what he did. You're talking about a 6-figure contract and, something that you're working at that hard that there's, really no reason to take any chances and go out there and do anything foolish when you have that much of a clear advantage in one aspect of the game.
Right. I agree 100%.
What about Roy? I mean, it didn't last very long. That one, unlike Colton's fight, was pretty quick. Your thoughts on that? I'd imagine as a boxing trainer working with a MMA fighter, it pretty much couldn't have gone any better for you, right?
Of course. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, of course, one of the things with Roy, I mean, Roy's known now, as being a heavy hitter, and that's the thing. If Roy hits you and he hurts you, chances are you're not going to see the next round. I mean, he's a devastating puncher with, and once he hurts you, his intentions are to finish you. And that's basically what happened in this fight. I mean, once Floyd caught Mitrione, I'm sorry. And I mean, it's pretty much over with for him. I mean, he couldn't recover because he got caught with the uppercut, then he got caught with an overhand right, then he went to the floor and Floyd just pounded him, instantly.
Okay. Now, since you and Richard are working together, how would you say, how far has he come? Where was he when you first started together, and what's he been able to add to his game and improve, from then till now?
Well, I think that most importantly with me, I mean, I've seen the progress in terms of his stamina, his punch count is way, way up from when we first started. And, you know what I mean? And now we're in sync where I can call combinations, and I mean, he just runs them off. So it's almost like me training a boxer. It would be no different than me training Roy. And Roy's made great strides, and now I think he understands the concept of boxing just as much as any fighter would. So I mean, Roy's come a long way. Come a long way in the time that I first started working with him.
Yeah, I like your thoughts also. The one thing that, the keyboard warriors or the people, the speculators out there, based on his appearance, that kind of thing, Roy's kind of got the reputation of somebody that doesn't work hard, that he could, be more. He could be a light heavyweight and be a champion there if he had the work ethic. You're someone that works with him, dispel those rumors or, just, your thoughts on that as far as, what he does as far as, how he works.
Well, I mean, Roy's an extremely hard worker. I mean, extremely hard. And, like I said, I mean, me, myself, I mean, for a guy, 255, 260 pounds that can throw well over 500 punches around, believe me, he can't be slacking. And that's one thing with me. I mean, I have him throwing, constant combinations and, practically for 5 minutes nonstop. So this man has to be in tremendous shape to be able to do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure most boxers probably can't keep up that pace. So, I mean, for anyone to say that Roy isn't a hard worker, they're fooling themselves. And obviously it shows in his performance. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I think just because of his appearance, I think they're fooled. They are completely fooled. So it's one of those situations in which, you can't judge a book by its cover.
No, we just got back from the gym, and what certainly on the surface seems like a kind of an odd couple there, King Mo and Roy Nelson working together. Tell us a little about that combination there and their unique friendship. Like I said, just looking at it seems kind of like a strange combination.
Actually, both of them are, great guys. I work with them both, and and Roy is a guy that kind of goes against the grain anyway, and I think Mo is too. They're both guys who probably have at least that much in common that, they don't let nobody dictate, or allow them not to be who they really are. And I think that with that being said, that's probably, one of the two things that draw them close to one another. But, they're very good friends. I started with Mo. Mo recommended me Roy. So it's one of those situations in which, and I can see how anyone could have become friends with them quick because, when I first started working with Mo, it was almost like I was working with a guy that I know, for 10 years. And, I wasn't, that easy to sell for Roy, because Roy, he's very meticulous, and he's one of those guys that he don't trust a lot of people. So for me to be able to train him and to be as close to him as I am now, that speaks volumes because, he's one of those guys. He's very picky, and he don't trust everyone. So even when we first started, he was like, he talked to both and said, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" And we hit it off, And so, right now, I mean, I guess I won't say the rest is history, but, you know, hopefully we will make some history before it's over with.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting with Mo. He loves it so much in boxing. I think if he thought he had the same abilities and talents as a boxer as he does as a all-around mixed martial artist, I think he might drop MMA if he could. What do you think about that?
Well, I think so. I mean, Mo has a sincere passion for boxing, and I think that, you know, of course, if you know, the boxing opportunity presented himself, I think he'll take it. But I mean, he's also conscious and also aware of the reality that he's not a top-notch boxer. He's a top-notch wrestler, and so he's not gonna you know, fool himself by, you know, jumping in the ring with someone that experienced and know what they're doing, you know. But I mean, I think that at some point in time in his career, I think that he does want to do a boxing match.
Yeah, he was saying, you know, maybe even as soon as next year after his Bellator run, you know, through the tournament there. Once that's over, he has written his contract that he'd like to try it. So it'd be interesting. What do you think? You know, he's been in there sparring. He's been with some of the pros in there. Some really tough guys. Mike Hunter from the Bay Olympian. So, you know, how's he looking against those guys?
I mean, he's doing well, but I mean, those guys aren't going all out on him. You know, it's not a war or anything. There's guys that actually who, you know, been doing this for, you know, basically part of their life. So, of course, a guy that's a wrestler who's making the transition into boxing, you know, and using boxing basically for the sense of MMA, I mean, he's not on the same level as a guy who's a two-time Olympian, and that's who he's been sparring with. So, you know, it's one of those situations. I mean, he does okay. He actually does well, but it's because the fact that, you know, Mike is not going 100%. He's not fighting like he's fighting for a gold medal. He's basically in to work with Mo and to help Mo, you know, help him with his craft as well. I mean, you know, because Mo gets a chance to try things with him, and you know, don't get me wrong. And if Mo don't do what he's supposed to do, he counters him, he makes him pay. But you know, at the same time, I mean, no matter what, I mean, Mo is still he's a top flight athlete and with a lot of heart, you know. So I mean, he hangs in there, you know. He hangs in there. He's not being dominated, but I mean, like I said, if it was an all-out boxing match, it'd be totally different, you know. I mean, but they're working with one another and trying to help each other.
Yeah. Let's shift gears here. We're back to boxing. Talk about that for a little bit. We'll wait for Marlon to call in here. You know, on Canelo Alvarez, on his Facebook, he was talking about, you know, he thinks it's close to being done. You know, obviously what is done is Floyd and Manny, you know, at least for now, that's not going to happen. You know, you had said previously you thought that was a fight that made sense. Anything you've heard about that fight, or what do you think of the prospects of Floyd and Canelo fighting sometime, you know, or May 4th, I guess is the date they're looking at?
I mean, I guess there's a high possibility. I mean, like I said, I don't know 100% for sure because I haven't actually talked to Floyd. And normally when stuff like this happens, I do talk to Floyd, and he usually tells me way ahead of time what the plan is. But this time around, I haven't had a chance to talk to him, so I don't really know. But I mean, I think that, you know, that is the only fight out there that makes sense to me. So I'm sure there's probably some truth to it.
Yeah. You know, and then the one thing that concerns me, you know, as Floyd went down his career here, you know, 2, 3, 4 fights left or so. I just don't see the people out there. Canelo's obviously the one, but who besides him do you see that would be appropriate names for him to fight as he winds down his career? I mean, I guess Robert Guerrero's one, you know, but that's not a huge deal there. I mean, who are the names that you know, that he can add to his resume to round up his career that you'd like to see him fight?
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, I mean, to be honest, most of the challenges that are there for Floyd are pretty much, he's probably already challenged most of them. And other than the fact of him conquering something bigger than what he's already conquered, would be a fight with probably Martinez, which is the fight that also makes no sense. So, I mean, I think that, you have, at this point, it's just a matter of, Floyd finishing his career and fighting the best that's out there to offer that's at his weight class, and not going beyond just to try to prove something because it's something that the public wants. Because every time they try to create something, about this person, that person, it seems like they always seem to get knocked off, So I just, just like even up to this point, I mean, everybody's been begging for Manny. Floyd is still, he's still Floyd. He's still the number one guy in the world in boxing. And, of course, I mean, Manny has had a crash landing, and it's been the case with Paul Williams, it's been the case with Margarito, it's been the case with almost every person that they claim to be the next person that's supposedly going to be Floyd. I mean, they always seem to be derailed, and no longer, viable. And even to this point, I mean, even though you can talk about Manny, but it's the same case scenario even with him. I mean, at this point, I mean, it's something that the fight probably should have happened a long time ago. But, I mean, the one thing is this, is that Floyd still kept his option open because he kept winning. And now Manny's option is closed because he lost. So that's the difference.
Yeah. See, I mean, I just, like I said, because of the fact that, I think we'll get a pass on Martinez because of the size difference. Even if people want to see it, I don't think there's going to be, he's not going to get too much heat for not taking that fight. Canelo's obviously won. I think he'll have to address, probably this next fight here before he retires. But other than that, if he doesn't face Robert Guerrero, I don't think anybody's going to go crying. I don't know. Do you think he'd ever fight Broner? I mean, they're pretty close. I don't know if that fight would ever happen, but I still think maybe after this fight, the Pacquiao fight's there, because I'm sure there's still interest, not as much as before, but there's still a lot of money to be had, and I still think before it's said and done, they'll both go at it. So just your thoughts on, would he ever fight someone like Broner, and is there still a chance that there would be a Pacquiao Mayweather at some point?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't think so. I think because of the fact of, I mean, who knows? Who knows what, like I said, Manny's been on the decline for, probably for the last year or so. He's actually really been on the decline. And basically now just not on the decline, but to get such a brutal knockout like that at this point in his career, as he's actually on the decline, only makes it, makes it put me in the mindset of maybe this guy's done. I mean, because sometimes, especially when the guy's already on a decline. I mean, like I said, like I always say, I mean, once Roy Jones got derailed by Tarver, he was never the same. And at this point in Manny's career, he's probably the same. When you get a brutal knockout, especially when you're already on a decline, it'll be different if it just happened dramatically. I mean, which it did happen dramatically, but I mean, he's been looking bad anyway the last 4 fights to me. So the decline is already there, and this is basically just the closer of the decline. That just everything just equaled up to what was really going to happen. The situation in which it probably would have happened with Floyd too if they would have fought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I think this Canelo fight happens, then after that, whether it's career or whatever. But if it's obviously important to him to finish undefeated, as it should be. Like I said, I think if he gets by Canelo here, then he fights like someone like a Guerrero or whatever, and if he wants to call it a day after 3 fights, why not finish up with Pacquiao? It's a good payday to close it out. Probably a safer fight at this point, with Manny being on the decline. And like I said, whether he's on decline or not, that's still a lot of money to be made there. I think there'll still be a lot of people paying for it. So, who knows? Maybe something will spring up in the meantime that that'll all of a sudden need to be addressed. But I don't know. It's just it's always the speculation with Floyd. It's just nice to that shortly here we'll know who will be in the ring with, and we can look forward to that fight in May. What are you doing?
Oh, I ain't doing nothing.
Jeff, you there? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
Well, we're supposed to have Marlon calling here. Still waiting for Marlon, so we'll just keep on filling the time while we wait for him to call in. Roy Nelson calling in about 7:40, so be tuned for that. What else is on your mind, Jeff? What do you think about any upcoming bouts? Or no, let's talk about Aamir Khan for a minute. Just had a victory this past weekend. Did you get to see the fight, and what did you think of their performance?
I thought he had a great performance, but he also had the right opponent in front of him, a guy that presented no challenge at all. I mean, he was much faster than, he was way more experienced than, and so I mean, it was one of those. It was a very, very safe fight, but on paper made it look like it was a partial threat, but the guy couldn't fight at all. So I wasn't really impressed when I put in all the intangibles. I really wasn't that impressed, but I mean, the performance was great. But like I said, when you look at the quality of opposition, the performance was exactly what it should have been.
Do you think that he's maybe was never as good as he was hyped to be, or that he's hit a bump somewhere along the way and just been sidetracked, and he can get back to being one of the best in the world, or what do you think it is that's kept him from being maybe as big as his hype was?
Well, I mean, you just said it. His hype. This guy never done nothing to even get those type of accolades. I mean, here's a guy who was manufactured. I don't know why everybody thought that he was so great, so spectacular. They were trying to make him into the new Prince Nassim. That's basically what they were trying to do. But he couldn't carry Prince Nassim's jock. I mean, he's a good fighter, but he was well overrated. I mean, I never saw all the glitz and glamour and all the hype that everybody was buying into. I never seen it. And I mean, and here's a guy that got knocked out early in his career, and they still had hype behind him. Like, okay, well, that was a mistake, and then turns around and he gets knocked out again. So I mean, he haven't improved that. He had the greatest chin. I mean, and like he been in with the best opposition either. So it's just one of those situations where the guy that I don't know where the hype came from. I don't know, if it was just somebody created a buzz about this guy, and everybody bought it. But the reality is that the buzz that was created, he never deserved anyway.
Do you think maybe it's a combination of the fact that, like you said, he kind of had the look and, of Prince Nassim, and then he came in, he was being trained by Freddie Roach, and at the time, especially, Roach was so hot with Manny being on top of his game and that kind of thing, so they figured the combination of, the look that he had and being, the hottest trainer in boxing, that was kind of, what everybody jumped on and said, hey, man, if, the guy's this good and reminds us of Prince Nassim and he's working with Freddie Roach, and he must be one of the best ones out there.
Well, I mean, I guess, there's so many different scenarios that you can actually make up and say that this is why or that is why, but I mean, I just deal with the harsh reality of what it really is. I mean, like I said, this guy hadn't done nothing for the whole world to get excited about, and even now, I mean, they're trying to still create a buzz for him after, what happened with the Peterson fight, what happened with the Garcia fight, and they're still trying their best to make him into a star. And to me, he never was. You have a guy that actually, he's got more hype here in the U.S. than he do in his own country. So, you know, I mean,
now, this
it
was,
is what it is.
You know, you've never been a huge Freddie. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. It is what it is.
Yeah. You know, you've never been a huge Freddie Roach fan anyway, but I know that you kind of, when Aamir Khan left Freddie Roach, that you had kind of come to his defense a little bit and called Aamir Khan out for some of the things he had to say about Freddie Roach on the departure. So go into that a little bit.
I mean, basically, that's just me personally. You know, I don't like when fighters, all of a sudden, they get a new trainer, and then, you know, I mean, when you talk about Freddie Roach was the greatest thing since ice cream. But now, all of a sudden, Freddie Roach is nothing. You know, but yet, this is the same guy that you were with, and as long as you were winning, you were fine. The second you got, you know, back-to-back losses, now all the blame is on Freddie. What about yourself? Hold yourself accountable for something. You know, and so basically it's just one of those situations. I mean, there's so many fighters that you know, change trainers the second they lose, because that way they don't hold themselves accountable. And that's basically, you know, that's basically in a nutshell why, you know, I feel that, to me, don't glorify someone that you just start training with just because the one you was with, you lost with. Be a man. Accept the loss and move on. You know, if you want to move on because you think this guy's a better trainer, okay, that's fine. But don't dog the trainer you was with when all you did was sing his praises until you got knocked out.
So tell me about some of the, you know, that's one thing that boxing is kind of perplexing to me is, you know, the trainers, how, you know, the kind of flavors of the month. You know, you get one hot boxer and then all of a sudden the best thing out there. I mean, you had, you know, from Freddie to Roger to Floyd Sr. to Virgil Hunter. I mean, you know, basically every trainer out there has been, you know, the hot guy out there, you know. Do you think that it's most of the time that maybe the trainer is not, you know, necessarily as great as they are, and it's more the fighter that's making them look good, or how does that work? I mean, who are some of the really actually great trainers, and who are some, well, I don't know if I'm throwing the bus, but who are some of the ones that are just more, maybe not they're not good, but that are more a product of, you know, just having a great fighter that makes them look better than maybe they are?
I mean, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, because if you got a good fighter, he makes you look good, you know, but then again, you can have some fighters that aren't so good and you can make them better. So, I mean, it's a combination of both, you know, and every trainer is not good for every fighter, and that's one thing, you know, just because, I mean, for instance, you know, as great as Emmanuel Stewart was, I mean, he was a horrible trainer for Jermaine Taylor, you know, but I mean, he did, you know, I mean, of course, his ability as a trainer speaks for itself with the number of champions that he's made, but like I said, just because, you know, everybody went running to him, you know, he don't have the recipe for everyone, you know, and so basically it's one of those situations in where, you know, you have a lot of trainers that, you know, like at one time Buddy McGirt was a very, very hot trainer, and then he had the same run as Freddie Roach. Once he was so hot, then next thing you know, everybody he had was losing, you know, and so next thing you know, somebody else became the hot trainer. I mean, that's probably when Freddie Roach became the hot trainer. You know, once he got Pacquiao, had Pacquiao on a great run, you know, and then you have, you have so many trainers that, I mean, that actually out there. All you got to have is one fighter that has had a long run as champion, but get the notoriety for it. Then all of a sudden you become that hot trainer, and everybody is seeking whatever it is they think that you gave that fighter. And sometimes, like you said, it's basically that fighter's already talented. He's gonna make it no matter who's training him, you know. But then you have some trainers that can actually, if there's a champion inside of you, they can put it out of you. So I mean, it's a combination of both.
Mm-hmm. So when you had the true elite fighters like Floyd, like Manny a few years ago, and you know, and these kind of fighters, Muhammad Ali, whoever, do you think that basically, no matter who trains them, they're going to be? I mean, obviously there's levels of their ability. But do you think Floyd would have been undefeated, whether it had been you, Roger, Jeff, or Freddie? You, Roger, Floyd, or Freddie Roach had trained? Do you think he'd still be basically the same?
Well, I mean, it's one of those situations where, I can't speak on a situation like that because you got to realize there's a foundation. Somebody built the foundation. Somebody made Floyd a great fighter before he got to this point. And so a lot of times that's what's missing. That's a part of the equation that's missing because you have fighters that actually somebody else has done all the work, the real work, the groundwork. But yet that person never get the attention because they may be an amateur trainer, or maybe that fighter decides, well, wait a second, I need to get a bigger name to train me. Not necessarily a better trainer, but a bigger name. So now, now it's a bigger following because now your name is attached to that person that's already established in the game of boxing. So, I mean, it's a combination of things that, that make a fighter bigger than what they are. But like I said, at the end of the day, especially when I speak about Floyd, because I know from day one who built the foundation and made Floyd into what he is, no, I can't say anyone can just, get in Floyd's corner and especially get credit for him being the fighter that he is because it's not true. I mean, can they get in his corner and just give him water? Of course they can. He knows how to fight now. I mean, he don't need me in his corner. He don't need Floyd in his corner. He don't need Roger in his corner. He knows what to do now. But still, there's a foundation that's built. Any fighter that's great, there was somebody else behind the scenes that helped him to get there. And a lot of times, that person is never exposed, never gets no attention, never gets no credit. And it happens all the time.
Yeah, do you care to expand at all? Like Floyd, someone that, grew up obviously around three great fighters in his family. How did he, coming up, where did he get, who did he really lean to? Who was there and really, I guess as far as all your contributions to his success, what would you say that each you did and contributed to him?
I mean, basically, it was almost as though Floyd was in a communist country. His dad knew from the day his son was born that he was going to have his son was going to become a boxer. I mean, Floyd was, probably, 6 months, and his dad was holding his hands up for him to punch him. And once he got old enough, by the time Floyd was, I'd say 6 or 7 years old, the stuff that everyone sees now, while he's a grown man, he was already able to do that by the time he was 6 or 7 years old. He was a kid that was, 6 years old. He looked like he's chasing a car, but he's not chasing the car. He's 6 years old and he's running 2 or 3 miles, following a car, and with his dad watching him while he's running. So his dad created a fighting machine. He built the foundation. He built, everything about Floyd. His work ethic, all this stuff was instilled in him when he was a baby. Practically when he was a baby. By the time he was 7 years old, these things was already embedded in him. Fortunately enough, of course, his dad did get some of the credit, of course, coming up, but his dad built the foundation, don't get me wrong. Roger was able to, to maintain it and keep everything intact, so, they both done great jobs.
What, it's always tough when you live your family life in front of the media, like obviously the Mayweathers have, and and everybody's. It's easy for people to sit and judge and make comments about you guys. And I know for a fact that my family's more dysfunctional than just about anybody out there, and and God forbid my family life be lived out in public. So I know it's difficult. So if that's what you want to discuss, that's cool with me. But just kind of explain the the dynamics between Floyd and Jr. and Sr. and their relationship, because it's on again, off again, that kind of thing. Thoughts of maybe Floyd coming back to train him, that kind of thing. Does the media kind of overblow it, or just explain a little bit how those two get along in their relationship?
I mean, of course. I mean, like I said, I mean, when you talk about boxing, I mean, anything with the last name Mayweather in it, and even more so if it has Floyd Jr. involved in it, of course, it's gonna get millions of hits, and that's basically what people write articles for. And so, sometimes a lot of things are blown out of proportion. Sometimes things are put out there to hopefully even create a buzz. But like you said, I mean, our family is just like everybody else's. There's no difference. It's just that, happen to have the name Mayweather, sometimes you're under the spotlight when it comes to boxing. And so, with that being said, I mean, of course, I mean, everyone knows the story of, Floyd Sr. and Floyd Jr. I mean, of course, they have an off and on relationship, but I mean, they love one another. They love one another to death. If Floyd's dad something was going on and, he was in a fight, his son will be there, his son will be ready to die for him. And the situation is the same with all of us. It just doesn't extend to those two. It's with all of us. I mean, if Roger, if Roger was in a situation, of course, I'll be there and I'll be willing to die for him. And vice versa. So, I mean, it's just one of those situations. I mean, we love each other, but I mean, we have problems just like everyone else. But it's one of those things where family comes first, especially when it becomes a situation in where you need your family to be a part of what you're going through. So, I mean, we're no different than anyone else.
And you're kind of, you're known as a quiet Mayweather, that kind of thing. You're really starting to make your own way now, especially with the MMA thing. You're really up and coming there. But not that you wish you weren't part of your family or anything, but does it ever, the one thing like that, you said it doesn't bother you, but it seems like if I were you, like we talked about your interviews and that kind of thing, inevitably anybody like we're doing right now, just talk about Floyd. Does it, in a way, you kind of wish you weren't attached to a family that was so entrenched into the boxing, so that you kind of were, you were judged for being Jeff Mayweather and not a Mayweather? How does that play with you?
No, at the end of the day, I'm still being judged as Jeff. Doesn't matter, because I mean, no one can give me world champions. No one can give me the knowledge of boxing. All those things I earned on my own. So I don't, I don't put myself, I don't walk around trying to, use my name for anything. And I mean, I want to be judged by what I do and who I am. At the end of the day, that's how I'm going to be judged. Because I mean, I can't fight for Floyd. I didn't win championships for Roger. And I don't dress flashy like Floyd Sr. I'm myself. I'm my own man. And I've made my mark in this sport on my own. So, I mean,
hey, Jeff, I tell you what, we're doing something we've never done before here. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish, buddy.
No, I'm done.
Okay. We're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to actually take a caller here. We got a caller named Rock, and he's got a question for you. So Rock, welcome to the show. You're speaking with Jeff Mayweather.
Thanks for having me. Hello, sir. I just wanted to ask you, why do you think boxing is not as popular right now? It seems like it, or maybe I'm wrong, but can you shed some light as to why it's not as popular anymore?
Well, I think that boxing just isn't as popular. One thing about boxing is this. One thing about in boxing, you have to create stars. Unlike MMA, in boxing, being undefeated means something. And at the same time, I mean, boxing is always dominated by 2 or 3 different fighters. At one point in time, it was just the heavyweight division, because that's the most glorified division. And with us having 2 Europeans dominating the sport of boxing, so that makes the heavyweight division irrelevant to boxing. So it's a situation in which that's one of that, because that used to be the weight class that actually carried the sport. When you had Mike Tyson, when you had Evander Holyfield, when you had, Muhammad Ali, going back as far as Joe Louis, I mean, the sport was always dominated by the heavyweight division. And like I said, without us having American heavyweights, now everything falls on my nephew, Manny, on a smaller weight class, and you only have basically 2 stars in the sport. And both of those stars, I mean, of course, like I said, with boxing, losing is a big deal. In MMA, you can lose, you can go and fight the next guy, because those guys have individual fans that are so much attached to them, it's almost like a cult following. So it doesn't matter. If they lose and they go fight the next fight, they're still going to have the same amount of fans that they had, whether they won or they lost. But I think that, that's one of the things that's hurting boxing, because of the fact that there's not that many stars. You have, like I said, you have Floyd, you have Manny, and you have a few others that are sprinkled in there that, you call them stars. But those are really the two. Those are the two. They used to be the two faces of boxing. So I think that's the difference. I mean, when you look to MMA, you have George St. Pierre, you have Anderson Silva, you have DeSantos, you have various guys that and they have huge followings. Even if they're not even the top fighter, they have huge followings. So I think that's one of the things why boxing is not as as big as it once was.
When you said about your nephew learning how to box ever since he was born, his dad taught him how to do those things, and he was already excelled at 6 or 7 years old. What about his promoting skills? Because you said that these fighters, they're not very, but Floyd has a great way to promote himself. He's a great self-promoter, as you know. So where did he get that from? Because I wish more fighters had that promoting skill.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think that it kind of happened by accident. Because, I mean, early on, when actually I was managing Floyd at the time, I mean, we had a totally different plan in mind. And basically, we were going to take a page out of De La Hoya's book where, Floyd was a nice guy and so on and so forth. And in a weird way, Floyd became the bad guy. He became the bad guy when he got associated with James Prince. And so then all of a sudden, a whole different demographic, fans came on board. I mean, you had hip-hop fans, you had, the younger culture becoming a part of the sport. And with that being the case, I mean, Floyd took the role of a villain. And one of the things is this: in boxing, only 2 people make money when it comes to as a fighter. You got to be a villain, a bad guy, but you can fight your ass off, or you be that good guy that everybody loves, and you portray yourself as, the role model of boxing, and you have your kids look up to him and so on and so forth, a la De La Hoya, and basically he's the guy that still, most important thing is you got to be able to fight. The image part, in order to make money, you're a villain or you're a good guy. If you're just a 9-to-5 fighter, kind of like a Mike McCallum. He's a great fighter, great human, and everything, but he had no charisma, he had no charm, he had nothing to sell to the boxing world. So he never became a commodity to the sport. And basically, that's what you have to do. You have to make yourself, relevant to the people. You got to make yourself hated by the people, or either loved by the people. Once you get, that type of crowd, people that love you just because of who you are and your ability to fight, or you have so many people that's willing to go out and spend their money hoping that you lose, is also, that's great marketing. That's great promoting. And right now, that's the hat that Floyd's wearing. Floyd's the villain of boxing.
All right, well, Rocker, really appreciate the call. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to go ahead and bring on our second guest. Just fresh off his victory this past weekend at the Ultimate Fighter 16 finale, Mr. Roy Nelson. Welcome to the show. You're on with myself and Jeff Mayweather.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Well, thanks for joining us. It seems like so long since we've seen you last, so great to talk to you. First of all, congratulations on your incredibly impressive victory this past weekend.
Well, thank you.
Well, before we get into that a little bit, before you came on, Jeff was taking all the credit. He said, without you, you'd pretty much be, without him, you'd be pretty much nothing at this point.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. He showed me how to kick.
He showed me how to kick. Yeah, that's a scary thought right there. Actually, that's probably why you never do in the fights. Actually, I guess if you learn from him.
Oh boy.
Yep, he taught me all my jiu-jitsu and kickboxes.
Well, before we get into your actual fight and what's going on with you, let's first. Your guy. I know you had your ups and downs, your teams on the Ultimate Fighter, but ultimately your guy came out on the victorious end. Colton Smith won there. What did you think of his performance? And I don't know how much you got to watch, but and also, were you surprised going in to the show that he was the one that would be able to walk away winning it all?
No, there was only two guys on my team that actually wanted to win it, and that was Colton and John, and then they just, they're the only ones that actually got picked up by the UFC. So, they saw the UFC saw the same thing that I saw.
How much is the show, geared to fans? With heavy editing and that kind of thing, was the vibe that was, created by them in what we were able to see on TV, was that similar to what was really going on actually at the show, or was a lot of that, for dramatic effect?
I don't know really what, how the executive producers or whoever does the editing or the director or whoever that guy is. I really don't know, but I know the UFC is a pure marketing machine, and I think they just wanted to use all the stuff that's behind the scenes to sell the DVD, because I don't know what Ultimate Fighter coach that's brought on 5 guys that actually won the Ultimate Fighter, 5 world champions, and the guy that actually created the UFC in Royce Gracie.
Yeah, I remember you actually tweeted that when, who was it? I think it was Forrest Griffin, right, that you brought on, and you said, wow, imagine that, the first coach I'd ever brought in on the show before. Was it right, Forrest Griffin, you tweeted that about? Because like you had just said, they didn't really represent anybody that you brought in. It kind of made it seem like you were winging it, kind of playing into the notion that you didn't take it seriously.
Yeah, I think, they sell one story, and then I think, FX has, gets paid for one thing, and then they have to sell the DVD. So I think the DVD series is what they're looking to sell next, where it will say, 5 Ultimate Fighter winners, 5 world champions, and the guy that created the UFC, Royce Gracie. And now on Tough 16. Get it now. 1985.
We've had Jeff. He's defended you, and we had Mike Hogan on a couple weeks ago, and he said the same thing. You kind of have got a reputation that they seem to feed in there that you don't take the sport seriously, and Mike has vehemently came to your defense, and so has Jeff. Both say you work incredibly hard and how serious you take that. Does that aggravate you? That you actually get to the point where you're one of the best fighters in the world, and that people think that you just kind of, like Mike said, it's actually kind of, a compliment in a way that you just roll out of the bed and be as good as you are. But does that bother you that people don't appreciate the effort that you have put into it?
No, as long as I know I'm one of the best fighters in the world, that's all that matters, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters is, what I think, and then, the critics are the ones, as long as they paying to watch me fight, that's all that matters.
All right. How was Jeff on the show? He's so laid back and quiet. We didn't get to see too much of him. We saw his face pop up here and there, but what was he like having on your coach's staff?
Yeah, no, Jeff, did his thing. He went in there, held mitts. popped people in their head, you know, did some doom sessions, you know, and just worked like that.
Jeff, in asking you, Jeff, how was it being part of that? Usually you're the boss to the trainer, and then you're kind of the assistant. Any difference in that, and what was your experience like on the show?
I just know being a UFC contestant is a lot easier than being a UFC coach.
I mean, to me, it was a great experience. I mean, of course, it was something new to me because I don't really know MMA, but basically, I mean, I was very, very happy to be a part of the show, especially with Roy. I mean, because me and Roy worked together, and I was honored to be a part of the show. And basically, I tried to do my best to give the kids the knowledge, the guys on the show, the knowledge that I have. And I think that, the one thing that happened in the show was that, like I told you before even we got on air, is the fact that Roy told these guys that, he would explain to them exactly what it is, and then he would ask them, do you understand what I'm saying? And if you do, ask me a question, and if you don't, ask me a question so we can kind of, get this squared away. But, of course, no one ever said anything, but once the show started to air, then everybody wants to make Roy the scapegoat because they're lost. That's unfair in one way, because the thing is this, I mean, obviously Roy knows what he's doing. I mean, he's proven it every time he fights. And not only that, he won the show. So obviously, and it's just, to me, it's like I said, it's a lot of that in boxing where once a guy loses, he got to blame the trainer. And that's the exact same thing that happened on this show, that if the guys in the show, that if they couldn't advance or if they didn't win, they used somebody else as a scapegoat. And like I said, and just like Roy just told you, he brought all the top guys in the sport, and the guy who even created the sport. So, I mean, what else could you do, to help him? And at the end of the day, it's only one winner anyway. And I'm just happy and fortunate, that the one guy on our team that actually didn't create all the bullshit and the havoc and all the other stuff that was going on was the guy that won, because, I mean, he had a quiet confidence about himself, had tremendous belief in himself. Fight night, when it finally came to the finals, I mean, he showed it. And it made me proud because of the fact that now, okay, you guys said all this about Roy, and now his guy won the title in the UFC, so obviously somebody did something right.
Hey, Roy, did he ever give anybody the doom session with the kids there, or was that something he keeps for you guys?
Well, I left that up to Jeff so he could do them, but pretty much they all got doomed because only 4 guys from the out of the 16 guys got picked up.
The last thing on The Ultimate Fighter, you
doomed.
Poor guys. Last thing on The Ultimate Fighter, you had said, you're done with Carl when you wash your hands with them. I'm assuming Mike Hogan got a little more down and dirty than you would, but your thoughts on Shane, and was it something you kind of weren't surprised that he pulled out of this fight, and how aggravating is it going through a competition like this, hoping at the end you're going to be able to lay your mitts on them, and then ultimately that not be able to happen?
At the end of the day, whoever's in the UFC and whoever I fight, I'm going to put my hands on and call it a day. If I fight Shane again, or have a chance to fight, I do Roy Nelson, Shane Carwin 3. That's, it's one of those in the making. It's a Mayweather Pacquiao type of, I guess. People want to see it, but I don't know if it'll ever happen.
You seem kind of, your personality, having talked to you a little bit, you seem more like you don't really have personal grudges or people that you want to fight? It's just kind of you. It's more business, and it doesn't matter to you who you fight. Is that correct? Just basically just put someone in front of you and go at it?
Usually, I have business acquaintances. Then there's people that I don't like. I think this last fight, me and Matt were pretty much friends. But then as soon as he actually said he called up Joe Silva and said he wanted to fight me, then it became very personal real fast. And then you just don't poke the bear.
Well, I mean, do you fault him? I mean, that was a great opportunity for him. Someone that's, trying to get their way up there. You just do the slap to you more than the fact that he was maybe looking for, a way to get his name out there if he could beat you?
No. It's one of those things. If you want to fight me, then don't be surprised if you get knocked out.
All right. Now back in the season when you and Matt were both on the Ultimate Fighters contestants, he was kind of portrayed as a bad guy in the house. So during the show, you guys actually got along pretty well?
Yeah, I think I was the only one that would actually help him or corner him.
Yeah, that's right. You were forced to corner him again in that fight. Well, obviously the fight itself went about as perfectly as planned. I mean, you had said you were looking maybe to go a little longer and see how it was, but just tell us about the fight. Going in, I guess you got slightly he did pretty well to start off, but it didn't take too long, and then you caught with the uppercut. So just tell us what you were going in the fight, what you were looking at doing.
I just went in there to, try to grapple him, and I was going to submit him, and then, he went down a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah. Now, the uppercut, well, we talked about this a little earlier when we were at the gym, but, everybody knows you have a huge right hand. That's two things, people know you most for, it seems like, a huge right hand and a granite chin. During the uppercut that landed, was it something you were looking for, going for the right hand and just kind of, switch the uppercut to catch him off guard, or what led to the uppercut?
No, I just knew that my right hand, which was the uppercut, would do the work. So it was just, under, over, all around. Anything with my right hand, it kind of hurts.
And then, as Jeff said earlier, and pretty much everybody knows, you're one of the best at finishing. When you get somebody hurt, you're gonna finish as quickly as you can. Jeff, just your thoughts on it as far as when you saw the uppercut and then finishing the fight off. What were your thoughts?
Me?
Jeff, you there?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, basically, the second I seen the uppercut, I seen how hurt he was. And then he got followed by overhead right after that. And once he hit the canvas, I knew it was a good night because the boy started, I don't know if you call it pound and ground and pound, whatever it is. I know he was trying to knock his head through the canvas. So I was glad the referee stepped in and stopped it.
And now, Roy, we talk a lot, Roy, about you having worked with Jeff in the steps you've made in your actual boxing skills. But tell us a little about Jeff, as far as his knowledge of the sport comes. He was one of the original haters in the sport. How have you seen his knowledge of the sport grown at all, if any?
He knows now. He knows a white person in the sport now.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I don't know if you ever told it, but Jeff, you got to tell us the story about the first time that you trained Roy and when you saw him.
I mean, when I first saw Roy, basically, the first time I actually trained with Roy, and I told him this too, was when I went up there to train him, I was like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of this dude. I'm gonna have a doom session all day. And come to find out, Roy had better defense than anybody I ever trained. But I don't know. But Roy did tell me, he said, well, when I get tired, I get hit a little bit. And finally it did show a little bit early on that was the case. When he got a little tired, I was able to hit him a little easier. But at the same time, still, I was like, I don't know where it came from, but everyone said, yeah, well, he loves to get hit, this, that. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't wait to get over there and get him. And, of course, I mean, I was fooled. I mean, this guy had better defense than anybody I ever trained, so I was in shock.
Now, Roy, you catch a lot of grief from Dana and fans and that kind of thing for the way you look and that kind of thing. And I was actually standing there talking to Jeff's assistant there, Kenny, today, and when you and Mo were sparring, and I was like, I said, man, if I just saw him in a bar and I was pissed, I think I could beat his ass, if I didn't know who you were. Do you kind of like that fact that, that people could underestimate you and look at you and not realize what a badass you are, or how does that affect you at all?
Maybe in real life, but not in the UFC, because that'd be like trying to underestimate, we'll say the Detroit Lions, even though, they're not the best football team, but you have to go out and play football, and it's the Detroit Lions. It's not like they're going to win the Super Bowl. But you might lose.
Oh, he had to go there on us, Jeff, didn't he?
Yeah.
Dude, you couldn't have picked another team besides the Lions. We're well aware they're not going to win the Super Bowl. We're well aware of that.
But you can win the playoff game.
So Roy, just tell us, you started working with Jeff before the Dave Herman fight. Tell us what it's like with him. You said you started putting the combinations together now. Before you're just doing one punch at a time. Obviously in a fight, it's not one person. It's everybody. It's an entire team involved. So what specifically has Jeff really helped with you and added to your game that maybe you didn't have before him?
I think it's going back to my Stephen Struve fight, like 5 fights ago, just where I feel more confident with my hands and just letting them go. Because like Stephen Struve, I think I threw 32 punches in all combination. It's just where I'm just getting in the habit of always doing that throughout all my fights. So just always just doing where it's muscle memory.
Okay. And now, based on what I saw today, I think that we're going to see you in the future trying some head kicks and that kind of thing, right?
I just do that for fun.
Yeah, explain a little bit of working with Mo. I talked a little bit earlier with Jeff before he came on. It seems like an odd pairing. How did you guys hook up and become friendly, and what's it like training with him?
Mo's great. Mo's great at wrestling. Mo has good head movement, just everything. I think the first time I ever met Mo was actually at a UFC event, and my wife just adored him just because he knocked out, trying to think of his name, Mike Whitehead. So she was just like, oh, I'm a huge fan. And then after that, we just hit it off.
Yeah, and then he helped you train for your last fight there. I know, he just come off the injury. Did you're working with helping him with this fight here? Was he pretty prominent in your camp for Mitrione?
Yeah, when he got back from Holland, it was last week, and then then Mo came in, and he, played southpaw for me, which was great, and then, just gave me a different look, and then you saw what happened.
Yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with Bellator, but just real quick, do you think there's any chance of anybody giving him any kind of trouble? I know he's working on his boxing a ton. He already has world-class wrestling ability. Anyone over there that you think that can stop him from just running through the tournament?
Well, the thing is, it's a fight, so he has to work his way up. But it's the one thing about MMA, anything can happen. But I believe Mo's one of the best 205-pounders in the world, so I think he'd take out anybody.
Okay. Now he said he would be willing to do it. Since you are a heavyweight, he said he'd be willing to go through the heavyweight tournament there as well. How do you think he'd do with the heavyweight?
Oh, the heavyweight tournament over there, that's a different story. I think Mo could be the first Bellator champion in 2 weight classes.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. He'd love to do it. They give him the opportunity. It'd be really interesting to see. He's not a big guy. I mean, he doesn't walk around at 240 when he's not training. So it'd be interesting to see. But love to see him get the opportunity. Jeff, back to Roy real quick. Just going forward, Jeff? What do you want to work on still with Roy? What still improvements do you see that he needs to make, and what kind of things are you going to focus on going forward?
I mean, to be honest, I've seen, great improvements. And the one thing, like I said, is with Roy is, I mean, his defense was solid, and it showed in the fight. I mean, because he was catching all those kicks. And, I mean, his punch count is up. I mean, probably above what I thought it would ever be. And to be honest, the only thing I see is for him to continue to keep doing what he's doing, and I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah. Speaking of those punch counts, Roy, he's saying he's getting over 500 punches around. How's that feel on you? He said he's got you throw the punches of a middleweight.
No, my goal is just to up my rounds, so I could just do. So just doing a couple rounds. I want to do just do it where I can do 5, where I can do where I'm at championship level.
Now you just come out of a fight this past weekend. How long do you take? I mean, I guess you're not really totally taking off because you're working with Mo and that kind of thing. But as far as yourself personally, how long do you take off before you start getting back into serious training?
I'm actually still doing serious training. I just took Sunday off.
Yeah.
Mo has me working
so when
hard.
would you like to get back in the? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said Mo has me working hard now, so maybe I'll have Christmas off.
Yeah. How long before you'd like to see you get another fight?
You know what? I actually want to take some time for myself, but right now I'm just concentrating on helping Mo.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, you had some changes in your family there, so I'm sure it's nice to step back and enjoy yourself a little bit and enjoy your victory, and then get back to it before in a little while. But just definitely not a problem taking some time to yourself. Who, when you get back, would you really like to get in there? What we discussed a little bit today, but who would you really like to challenge next?
Any one of the 28 UFC guys on the roster.
Nobody. As far as and another thing we had addressed was it doesn't really matter, who you fight as long as you keep getting the wins. How far away do you think you are from maybe get a challenge for a title?
For a title, I might just be able to sit out and just get one. In the UFC, it doesn't work that way. It's all about timing. Chael Sonnen's coming off a loss and never fought at 205 in the UFC, and he's fighting for the light heavyweight title. So you never know.
Right. So for you, probably more than likely, as long as Dos Santos is champion, you won't get the challenge for it. But should the right person become champion, and they say, "Ooh, Nelson would be a good matchup for him," then that's where your shot might come in.
No, I think I'd probably be the only one. I could probably sit out for a year, and as long as Dos Santos is knocking people out, they're going to go, wow. The only person that actually made Dos Santos draw his own blood was Roy. And if he had 5 rounds, it probably was a different story.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess on first thought that he lost to him, but then, obviously, what's that?
Yeah, no, I lasted 14 times longer than Cain Velasquez did. And he's already had number 2, and he's already fighting him again. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. I looked at it wrong maybe the first place, saying, you lost just so they wouldn't give you a shot. But then again, looking back at it, you're the one guy that went the distance with them, which was quite impressive. And then, you get a few, you were up a few victories like you did against Matt Mitrione, looking really impressive. Yeah, they might just throw you back in there and say, hey, this is a guy that we need to give another shot because obviously he's doing something right at this point. So if anyone's going to beat Junior, it'd be him.
Yep.
And Jeff, what do you think about you said that Junior Dos Santos is the best boxer in MMA that you had seen. If Roy got that shot again to go for the title and square up with Dos Santos, how would you approach that?
I mean, you still would have to approach it the same way. I mean, of course, Roy's skills are getting a whole lot better as well. I never seen the first fight, so I don't really know. And I've only really seen one fight of Dos Santos. And I just know that he's a guy that he loves to move, and he don't want to get on the ground. That's the only thing that I really seen of him. And I watched a couple of his fights, maybe like on YouTube. And I mean, he's a good boxer. He is a good boxer. And but I mean, at the same time, I think that it would be the same approach I mean, if you get hit on his chin, he'll go out just like anybody else.
Man. All right, well, we really appreciate having you on tonight. I know you're a busy guy, so thanks so much for taking a few minutes of your time. Just tell the folks that are listening where they can catch you. I know you have a huge Twitter following, so tell them about your Twitter, your Facebook, or any of that kind of thing.
All the fans, just make sure you go to RoyNelson.com. Follow me at Twitter at RoyNelsonMMA. Facebook, like me there at RoyNelsonUFC.
All right, well, we really appreciate it. Anything else you want to add before you go? It was great having you on. Congratulations so much on your victory. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, just keep on watching.
All right, Jeff, you got to say more to Roy than your customer at goodbye. So what do you got to close with, Jeff?
Well, thank you, Roy, for taking time out to be on the show. Truly enjoyed it. It's fun. Now I can say it. Bye.
All right, thanks a lot, Roy. Appreciate having you on, and best of luck in the future. Hopefully you get that chance at the title again in the future sometime. Roy Nelson, thanks so much for joining us. Unfortunately, Marlon Starling didn't get in there, so we'll try to get him another time. Next week is Christmas, so we're going to do a replay. We'll put on there probably the Thomas Hearns and Milton McCrory show. So if you missed it the first time, be sure to check it out next week. Jeff, anything else you want to add before we call it a night?
Who got the weed? Who got the good weed?
Yeah, of course. All right. Follow Jeff Mayweather on Twitter at Jeff Mayweather1, and check out the website, ProBoxingInsider.com, and thanks again to Roy Nelson for joining us. Great having him on, and best luck in the future, and we will talk to you again in 2 weeks.